Hey everyone, welcome to the Business Savvy Podcast, Best of 2021 edition. I am your host, Nick Werker. Now, since our debut episode in June, we've had a lot of really smart and talented people come on the show and share expert tips for those running field and home service companies. In this episode, we'll be revisiting some of my favorite moments from the podcast so far. You'll get to hear from best-selling authors, marketing professionals, a business news editor, and even a clinical psychologist. We hope you enjoy this best of episode and have a wonderful holiday season. We'll see you in 2022 with new episodes of the Business Savvy Podcast. You know, we kind of are moving towards like a cashless society. As much as some people hate it, I love it. I don't carry cash anywhere, but we really are. And if you're not offering your customers the ability to pay without cash or whatever they want, look, we might be moving to Bitcoin. Who knows? But how important is it, do you think, for businesses to be able to offer customers the ability to make payments online, just without cash?
Yeah, it's super important. Honestly, I don't really know anyone that uses cash or checks anymore. I write one check a month and it's for an archaic company that doesn't accept any other option of payment, and I have to mail it and it's a pain in the butt. Cash, I recently took a trip. I finally, have traveled, my first plane ride in the past year and a half of the pandemic. And I had some extra spending cash. Like for some reason, cash seems almost like fake for me. Like it's just a piece of paper and it doesn't affect my bank account. So I had a bunch of cash and I was like, I hate this. I don't miss this. Because then you have all the coins and then you're, scrambling when you're trying to pay. People behind you are getting frustrated. Why aren't you just using your phone for your Apple Pay or whatever? So it's stressful. And so especially as we get into the higher ticket price points, like what we see in HVAC or with appliance repair, it's crucial that you offer payment options, or you offer, even some of them offer payment plans. Hey, you can't spend the $5,000 up front. Okay, we're going to do this, that, or the other. Here at Workies, we integrate with a company called Chase Bank, and we offer our users WePay options so that they can actually accept credit card payments. And then with one click, they can send payment links via text or via email to their customers. So, I know you're a millennial, I'm a millennial. As millennials are becoming more and more homeowners, right? We all need these essential home services, even in apartments and condos and all over the place. If somebody's going to just be able to text me a payment link and I'm able to pay with one click on my phone, amazing. That's so much easier than scrambling around for cash or checks or what's your Venmo username or what's your PayPal username. It's just a lot easier when it's all in one place.
So I want to talk about this actually. In another piece that you wrote this year, you presented millennials as like as a budding market, I would say. Oh, yeah. And a lot of HVAC companies are, I don't want to say failing, but not really taking advantage of. So can you talk about why HVAC contractors should be focusing more on millennials?
There's a real easy answer to that. The term millennial is often misused and confused with just meaning a young person. The technical definition of millennial is people like you, born between roughly 1980 and somewhere in the late 90s. Some people even go up to 2000 or 2001, but either way, that in that time period, the peak of births for that cohort is in 1987, which is 34 years ago. The average age of a first-time home buyer is 34 years old.
I'm getting old.
So that means millennials are now becoming homeowners at a rapid clip. So you want to target to this group because these are going to be your customers, and there are a lot of them. These are going to be the customers for pretty much the rest of your career. Your existing customers are, moving away, or in a lot of markets are probably maybe moving away to a warmer climate, or, passing on. So this is who you're going to be working for pretty much for the rest of your career. And that's why you need to know how to reach them. And the sort of, not everything is going to work the same for every age group either. So you have to figure out how you're going to reach them. One thing is that, for example, Facebook is if you want to reach millennials via social media, that's the way to go. It's the number one social media, Facebook and Instagram for millennials. So that might be where you want to spend more of your advertising dollars, and maybe less on, definitely less on like newspaper or print, than previous generations. But that's not to say that you should necessarily discard all traditional advertising either. Don't just say, well, if I want to reach millennials, I just have to go all online. One thing that was interesting during the pandemic is that people were stuck at home, they were bored, and mailers became much more effective because the mail shows up, something to do for 10, 15 minutes, go through the mail, go through that Val pack and see what's in there. So you need to make sure that you're spending correctly to reach this crucial and growing consumer group.
You are a smart guy, Ted. And for anybody listening to this who's an HVAC contractor and you're scared of millennials, we're not so bad, I promise. I think what holds a lot of people back from really venturing out and investing time, energy, and money into collecting reviews is that they are all afraid of getting the bad review, because once that's online, they feel
it doesn't go away.
It doesn't go away. Especially if it's valid, right? Like,
Yep.
People have bad days. And again, I'm erring on that side of you're a good business owner, you're a good person, but maybe you had a bad day. So what can business owners do if they receive a bad review? Or listen, I guess part of the answer could be, should they do nothing? But what should business owners do?
Yeah, I mean, I would absolutely not do nothing. That reflects badly, right? You can do nothing. And again, but I think that falls into that goofs category of appearing like you're not paying attention. Maybe you actually were, but if you're not doing anything, and review responses are actually part of Google's algorithm. They've come out and confirmed that too. So responding to all positive and negative reviews, I think is important. The best case scenario, and we actually wrote about this on our blog, is you take it offline, right? Have something that's, you can have something that's semi-scripted. That's like, hey, so-and-so, I'm so sorry that you had a negative experience about XYZ thing. Please give me a call. I'm the business owner, or even the customer service representative, or whoever is going to be the person that can actually help them resolve their issue. Give me a call. Take it offline. Do not, this is definitely a goof, do not argue with that person online. How many times do we see internet trolls get slammed on Reddit or slammed somewhere or something that's just like back and forth and just heated, and you're just pissed? Like, I didn't even I was like, my manager, my delivery guy was late. I'm sorry, 5 minutes, whoop-de-doo, or like, we got a review for one of our plumbers that one of their drivers was driving a little carelessly, right? And so it's like, you didn't have a real interaction with the company necessarily, but you did have a real perception of the company. And so there's things that you can do. And the number one thing I would say is get it offline. If you can resolve it offline and you can make that customer into a happy customer again, then ask them, hey, would you mind going in and updating your review? And then that actually shows a lot more trust to somebody. It's like, even when these guys messed up, guess what? They still took care of me. They still are helpful, right? That shows what kind of company you are. People would even, that's a positive thing, right? Hey, I gave them a 2-star review because of this, that, and the other. The guy was okay who I was working with. And then, hey, this is so-and-so. Let me fix my problem. I'm going to give them a 4-star review. Great. That's fabulous. You improved your rating and you showed that you care.
You obviously, you work a lot with home service businesses. So what are some of the more common marketing mistakes that you see them making? Because obviously you've got to be one of the best marketers we're going to have on the show.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you one thing. You got to pivot your brain a little bit. I'm a very, very good marketer. I love marketing. That's one of my attributes. I have a lot of failures. I'm a bad organizer, bad with time management, bad with a million things, but I'm obsessed with marketing. And don't think as much about marketing for the customer anymore. Think about marketing for the employee. Think about an employee. What's great about an employee? Why would I market for employees, Tommy? Well, first, they get 5-star reviews all over the internet. It's called user-generated content. They get videos for you, testimonials. They have a higher conversion rate, a higher average ticket. They're fun to work around. They don't call you at midnight. They don't quit on you when you need them the most. Great employees will help you recruit A players. They'll help go get you customers. When they go to church, they'll get you 2 customers. As long as you build a way for them to make a little bit of that money with them. So the biggest mistake in marketing is we spend a fortune acquiring customers. We spend no money acquiring great employees, my internal customers. So I say focus a lot more time, energy, and focus on figuring out how to get A players, because A players love other A players. And part of that is having a great recruiting program, a great training program, a great orientation, and a great way to continue to train them. And then you got to retain them. So that's first and foremost. Number 2 is you got to be obsessed with Google. Google is God when it comes to home service. They've got 4 algorithms for home service. I'll go through them quickly. They've got pay-per-click. You can pay to be at the top. Every time someone clicks on you, you pay. The second one is called LSA ad, local service ads. It's called the Google Guarantee Program. You can spend some good money on that. It's way cheaper than pay-per-click. They're going to do a background check on everybody, including the owner and the person that's out to the home. That is something you're going to want to do for sure if you're in the home service space. Number 3 is called your Google My Business page, and that's where they got your hours of operation. Do not have closed Saturday and Sunday. Stuff does not break. When you choose for it to break, be open at least 14 hours every day. Well, I don't make my guys work Sundays. Well, you're making a mistake. I appreciate that you're a Christian and everything, but that stuff still breaks on Sundays. And then the last one is just organic search. And people think the website doesn't count as much anymore. And unfortunately, it really does count. It's just not the same way. You want to start ranking for things like when people do research, none of those ads and none of that other stuff show up. So you can research the top brands versus each other. There's a great book called They Ask You Answer by Marcus Sheridan. And he speaks about some of the things that he's got a pool company that he's busy for the next 3 years. He's not taking on any business. So stuff that he talks about works. But those are a few pointers that I can tell you to start out. And then one very, very big one that people make a mistake of is they don't have call tracking numbers on every source of marketing. I can tell you I have 4,000 call tracking numbers. So I know every campaign I renegotiate all the time. I got to attribute exact revenue versus how much I spent per acquisition. And right now I'm at 9.7% of my marketing, but a lot of that's because I'm growing other markets. It's spread out. Some of them are at 5%, some of them are at 15%.
I've mentioned this before, and it sounds kind of like a, I don't know, like a faux pas, but to talk about like cancel culture, but people are seriously afraid of getting canceled. I don't know, like what kind of thoughts you got going in your head that you're scared somebody's going to like try and come after you, but it's one of those things. I think that's a mental block for people getting involved in media. They don't want to be the guy out there. They're like, I'm comfortable. I'm doing what I'm doing. I'm fine. I don't need all of that attention. But if you're dealing with a crisis, right, how important is it to have a pre-established plan in place? And can you give our listeners an idea of what that plan should potentially look like?
Yes. And it's interesting that you started off that way, because I had that conversation about not the cancel culture conversation, but about, we're good. We don't want people talking about us online. I had that conversation back in 2009, I think, about social media. I actually had a business owner say, I don't want to be on social media because we don't want people talking about us.
Oh, that's a good idea.
I tried to explain that they're going to talk about you whether you're there or not, but with you there, you can kind of control your message a little bit more. So it's the same thing with PR in a crisis situation. And I have seen everything from, and I'm just talking home service, everything from a dirty handprint on a wall being shared, a picture shared thousands of times, to gas leaks, to traffic accidents, DUIs, and even a murder. There are very few times that the company itself is actually to blame. in all of those circumstances, it was an employee who made a bad decision that then brings the company name into the story. So all that said, a company should be prepared for it. And we go through a process with our clients where we identify things that could happen, from everything from an employee mistake to, a data breach, or, your office building could burn down. How do you keep your people employed? Everything that you can think of that could reach the media, and then they require a statement. So we work with our clients to teach them, don't react. We kind of give them scripts where if the media calls you, and this usually happens, they'll call you and say, hey, we just heard this happen. What do you have to say about it? And it's something that you didn't even know happened yet. You hadn't even heard. This is the first you heard about it. And sometimes company owners just react and say something. And, in a situation like that, hang up the phone. You don't have to respond. Just hang up, call a PR person, get help. We'll write a statement. We'll reach back out to that journalist. It's very rarely can you actually think straight when you've got that kind of anxiety. But if you already have a written plan in place, you know what to do when something like that happens. But 9 times out of 10, or I would say even 99 times out of 100, it's very rarely the company's fault. It's usually an employee mistake. So those things usually can go away if you handle it the right way.
When a business owner does recognize that they're having an issue with burnout, what are some of the first things that they can do to start addressing the issue?
Yeah, and that's a great question. I think it might be helpful even to define what we mean when we are talking about burnout, because I think it's a term that gets tossed around a lot. And I think we've kind of equated it with tired or exhausted. And it is, but it also it's a formal diagnosis. It's part of the ICD-10. We've got a clinical code we can use. Like, it's a formal diagnosis. And so as such, it has predefined criteria. So when we're talking about true burnout, we're talking about a sense of physical and emotional exhaustion, right? That's kind of the first thing we think of, but it's that sense of waking up tired. It's the sense that you can't get enough rest or a reset no matter how hard you try. It also often shows up in the body with physical exhaustion. So it's that person who gets a cold and it lingers for like weeks and weeks and weeks. It's like your immune system isn't functioning. That general sign of just wear and tear on the mind and the body. So the second criteria that go into a burnout diagnosis is a sense of cynicism and withdrawal. So the things that you maybe used to care about or used to excite you about your business, you no longer care about that. You're maybe sarcastic towards your clients. You kind of make fun of them behind your back. You're snappy to your staff members or your team members. You just don't have that kind of human warmth or motivation that maybe you once had towards your business. So instead, you're kind of, it's a little bit of the like crusty old man vibe, right? Like, you don't like anything. You don't care about anything. You don't want to deal with anyone. And then the third component is a diminished sense of personal efficacy. So this is where this filter sort of takes place in your brain, such that everything that you see about yourself and your business is interpreted negatively. So you might be doing really well, like objectively, sales are up, you're getting more customers, things are going well, but you don't register any of that. All that you register is what's not done, what's not finished. So it feels like you're tired from pushing this boulder up a hill, and it's a boulder you don't care about anyway, and you're not moving it forward. And so it becomes this feedback loop where you feel really negatively about your business and about your work, and it's hard to get out of. So that's what burnout looks like.
Finding a way to improve visibility with local consumers is always crucial, right? We were talking about this with trying to be local with Instagram. So what can home service companies do to improve their local SEO results and presence?
Yeah. So the number one thing, so Google's algorithm, if you think about it, what does Google want? Google wants to provide their users, us, searchers, with the best answer, right, to the result, right? And so if you as a company are that best answer, then you're more likely to rank. And how does Google find out if you're that best answer? Reviews, right? Google knows that reviews are important. And speaking of to your earlier point, recency bias is built into Google's algorithm, right? It's part of what they look for with reviews on local SEO. So if you're getting reviews consistently, it's way more valuable than the review you got 6 months ago, right? Because it's a more recent experience. It's fresher content. You know, that used to be a huge buzzword a few years ago, was the fresh content thing. It's very similar today and now. But if you break down local SEO, it really breaks down into kind of 4 parts, in my opinion. There's links, right? And those can be, there's a lot of bad ways to get links, as anybody who's been in this industry knows. There are a lot of harder, fewer good ways to get links. It's not as easy to get bang for your buck. And honestly, it's not quite as heavily weighted in the algorithm as it was even 3 years ago, I would say. And then the next part is your brand, who you are, right? You're the brand authority, you know, to put into a buzzword term, but realistically, like how authentic you are, how good you are. Content is another one. And then and then user experience of your website. So those are kind of the 4 parts of SEO that you would look at. And if you're going to do one thing, the thing that I tell all my business owners, if you're going to do one thing, it's go out and get those Google reviews, because it's weighted so heavily on everything that you do. Plus, even if you aren't ranked number 1, like in the traditional map pack that we see for SEO, right? So you do a Google search, you know, the plumber near me, right? And they show up with the 3 results. If you have one that shows up number 1 that has 4 reviews, and then you have another local Joe Schmo plumber that shows up with 27 reviews and a 4-star rating, and then you show up as a bigger company, or even as a Joe Schmo company that has 145 reviews and a 4.7 rating, which one are you going to pick? You're going to pick the one with more reviews and a better overall rating. In fact, some people are distrusting of somebody that has 10 reviews and 5-star rating. Like, okay, did you fish for those? Are those just your select best customers? Whereas kind of like what you talked about earlier, that sample size it's huge. So if you're going to do one thing, that's what I would say. And the next biggest things are probably going to be related to, you know, being involved in your community, and that really helps your SEO more than you would think.
Has your advice for home service businesses changed or like evolved at all? Is there anything that you've been telling them to do differently since we had to go into the great indoors?
Yeah, you know, it's interesting because what we've realized in this economy is much different than most. Customers are buying like crazy. It's been hard to get materials, so supply chain and then human capital hiring has been tough. Mm-hmm. So what I'd recommend is you get a little bit more time to reflect and start thinking, how do I create a better environment for my employees? You know, wages are going up. They're forcing, inflation's happening. So one day I had 20 garage door companies upstairs, and they said, I went down a list and I wrote HVAC, plumbing, electrical, paint. And I just picked one thing. I said an HVAC unit might cost $15,000. It cost them $2,200. That's a 7 times multiple. And I ended up saying 6 or 7 times all the way down the list. And then I said, let's do a garage door. How many of you guys would charge? And I think 5 or 7 times the price was $1,500. It was $10,500. And I said, anybody charge that? They go, oh my God, hell no. We don't even charge half of that. And I go, do any of you guys have PTO, brand new trucks, the best CRM in the industry? Do any of you guys have 401k plans? You pay for Aflac for their employees like I do? Do any of you guys have the Dave Ramsey program? Can you afford that? Well, no. How much? How do you guys make that much? See, I care about my internal customers. I really care about them first. You guys work out of your house. Your wife works for you for free. Your kids work at darn near minimum wage for you. Your trucks aren't wrapped, and you complain about my prices. So what I've taught them to do is when you got too many clients and not enough people or supplies, you raise your prices. so you could run half the calls and make the same amount of money and keep happier customers. It's that simple. But see, no one was predicting what was going to happen. So they just don't know. They were never taught sales, body language, eye contact, tonality. So they were a commodity business. They wanted to commoditize it. They looked at everybody else's prices, got right around there, did something else for free, and thought, I'm going to be a business owner. But guess what? This is survival of the fittest. And a lot of these businesses aren't fit. They don't understand what needs to happen. And you know what? It's a good thing for a lot of us that actually understand it. I was a small guy, but at least I didn't make the same mistake twice all the time. At least I started to look around me and take care of people and care more about the people that work with me and their wives and family and their husbands and family. And I wanted to make them a great mom and a great dad. I wanted them to be able to spend a little bit more time. And I think that's the biggest thing I've taken out of this thing is now I'm always looking after my people going, what else can I do for them? What else could we do? There's a good book called The Dream Manager. I read it last night on the plane for the second time. And that's one thing we're going to be hiring is a dream manager, somebody that every month they talk to you about what are your dreams? Nick, what do you want to accomplish? What do you want to do with your kids? What do you want to do? Do you want to go on a second honeymoon one day? Do you want to go camping? What do you want to be when we grow up? We know we're working together now, but maybe there's something else in your future because we're going to help you accomplish your dream. This work is to accomplish a dream that we're going to help you accomplish. So the best thing is reflect a little bit and look at your business and see what's there, because I think it's really important that we do that now. The business is there, economy's there, and be prepared for inflation. Change your prices the day yours change. The days yours change it for the customer, because if you don't, you're going to get left behind. I've had 6 price increases in the last 6 months. I've a little over 100% increase. We're doing great. No customers are mad about it either. They understand what's going on out there.
The holidays are coming up. This is not a holiday episode, but for a lot of us, it's hard to make time to get together with family, especially when we're such like workaholics, for lack of a better word. Do you have any tips for business owners on balancing like the work and family during this holiday season?
I think more generally for business owners, let's not like get too far into an addiction to hustle porn, right? Like, let's not keep telling ourselves that working more hours is better. Probably not. Probably what most of us do in 10 hours, we could do in 6 if we had to. So I think part of what I loved about Simone Biles' action was to normalize a time away, was to normalize a sabbatical, a vacation, a break. And, not everybody finds time with family to be super restorative or relaxing. And so if that's your story, honor that. Know that you might need to do the obligatory holiday meal, but that is not your rest. That's not your retreat. That's not your sense of restoration. That probably needs to get scheduled in January on a beach in Mexico where there are no weird aunts and uncles. So if you don't, love your time with your family members, do what you think is sort of ethical and helpful and important, but don't mistake that for your restoration time. And you do need restoration time. You need that ability to step away. It will, if nothing else, I bet you money that it will have an observable difference in your business success. Because when you spend that time away, you are kind of resetting all of those neuronal connections that get overly trodden when you're doing the same thing and thinking about the same things all the time. So when you take a great vacation, when you take some time off, when you take a retreat, when you take a sabbatical, you're kind of resetting your brain so that you can be more creative, better at communicating, more interesting, just generally better at running your business. So a vacation is an investment in your business. If you need to think about it like that, I can write it for you on a prescription pad.
Please.